Lawyer laughed at the boy next to his mother until he discovered why he was there. Jennifer Wilson held her son's hand as they waited their turn in family court in Chicago. Little Ethan, just 10 years old, clutched crumpled papers to his chest, his eyes fixed on the polished marble floor. Across the hallway, attorney Michael Thompson couldn't hold back a mocking laugh at the sight. A boy in a plain blue shirt, holding papers like they were treasure, standing beside a mother who clearly couldn't afford a lawyer. Michael adjusted his Italian silk tie and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Well, look at that. Seems like today's bring your kid to court day. Does the boy think this is a playground?" Jennifer's face burned with shame, but Ethan squeezed her hand tighter, as if telling her to stay calm. The woman wore her best dress, a simple beige one she'd bought 3 years ago on sale. Her shoes were worn but clean and well kept. She worked as a teacher at a public school, and every penny counted in her tight budget. Michael continued his arrogant display, turning to his client, businessman David Miller. "Don't worry, David. This'll be quick. She doesn't even have a lawyer. Brought her kid to try and sway the judge. Old trick that hasn't worked on me in 20 years. David just nodded, avoiding looking at Jennifer and Ethan. He wore an expensive grey suit, a gold watch on his wrist, but there was something uneasy in his posture, as if he'd rather be anywhere else. When they were called into the hearing, Michael entered first, oozing confidence. The courtroom had that solemn atmosphere that intimidated anyone, with its dark wood paneling and the national emblem behind the judge's chair. Jennifer followed, Ethan still clutching the papers beside her. The judge, William Parker, a man in his 60s with graying hair and thin-framed glasses, observed the scene carefully. He immediately noticed Jennifer's lack of legal representation. "Mrs. Wilson, have you chosen to represent yourself?" "Yes, Your Honor. I couldn't afford a lawyer." Michael let out a sarcastic chuckle. "Your Honor, perhaps we should advise her on the complexity of this type of case. Maybe she should reconsider and seek a public defender, though that'll delay everything for months." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers out. Now back to the story. That's when Ethan stepped forward. "Your Honor, may I speak?" The room fell silent. Michael looked at the boy with a mix of surprise and amusement. "Your Honor, this is absurd. A child has no legal standing to—" "Mr. Thompson," the judge interrupted, raising his hand. "The boy isn't here as a party to the case, but given this is a hearing about child support and custody, I believe hearing from the child may be relevant." "Ethan, what would you like to say?" Ethan took a deep breath, his fingers trembling slightly as he unfolded the crumpled papers. "I brought some letters I wrote to my dad. 3 years' worth, Your Honor. None of them got a reply." Michael rolled his eyes. "Oh, please, kids' letters. Your Honor, this is clearly emotional manipulation orchestrated by the mother. Classic move to inflate child support by using the child as a shield." Jennifer began to cry silently. She hadn't known about the letters. Ethan had never told her. "I didn't know," she whispered. Ethan continued, his voice growing steadier. "My mom didn't know about the letters. I hid them because I didn't want her to be sadder. She already cries hidden in the bathroom when she thinks I'm asleep." The judge leaned forward, intrigued. "Go on, Ethan." The boy opened his worn-out school backpack and pulled out a thick notebook, its cover frayed from use. "I also have this. It's a diary I kept. Well, not really a diary. More like a list." "A list of what?" asked the judge. "Of all the promises my dad made and didn't keep. It has the date, time, and what he promised. I started writing when I was 7, when I learned to write properly." Michael huffed, shifting in his seat. "Childish fantasy, Your Honor. Kids make things up, mix reality with imagination. This means nothing." But Ethan didn't back down. He opened the notebook to a marked page. "March 15th, 2022, 2:30 p.m. Dad promised to pick me up Saturday to go to the park. I waited until 6 p.m. He never came. Mum called 3 times. He didn't answer. June 8th, 2022, my 8th birthday. Dad promised a party. Mum baked a cake at home. Only my friends from public school came. Dad texted saying he had an important meeting. Ethan's voice began to tremble. December 20th, 2022. Dad promised to spend Christmas with me. Mum bought special food, spent her Christmas bonus on it. He called on the 24th saying he was going away. Jennifer covered her face with her hands, sobbing. She had no idea Ethan had been recording everything. There are 3 full notebooks, Your Honor, 3 years of broken promises. Michael, visibly annoyed by the hearing's direction, snapped, "So what? Mr. David Miller is a busy businessman. He pays child support on time, meets his financial obligations. He can't be forced to spend time with the kid if he doesn't want to." That's when Ethan dropped his first bombshell. "Do you remember me, Mr. Michael?" The lawyer narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean, kid? I've never seen you before." Ethan rummaged through his backpack again and pulled out an old, faded photo. "This is from my baptism. You're right here, holding me in your arms." The room fell into tense silence. Michael took the photo with shaking hands. It was unmistakably him, 10 years younger, smiling as he cradled a baby. Beside him, David and Jennifer, still married, looked happy. This must be some mistake." "You were my godfather," Ethan said calmly. "Mum told me you and Dad were best friends since college. You came over every week when I was a baby." Jennifer looked up, stunned. Michael Thompson, Ethan's godfather? My God, I didn't recognize you. You've changed so much." The lawyer loosened his Italian silk tie, sweating. This is irrelevant to the case, Your Honor." "On the contrary," said the judge, "there's a clear conflict of interest here. You shouldn't be representing the father of a child whose godfather you are." Ethan wasn't finished. "I remember you, Mr. Michael. Not much because I was little, but I remember you took me for ice cream. Once you taught me to ride a bike in the park. You were the one who took off the training wheels." Michael was pale now. David, who had stayed quiet until then, finally spoke. "Michael, what is this? You told me you'd never met my ex-wife in person." There was a misunderstanding. It was a long time ago," Ethan pressed on, relentless for a 10-year-old. "You stopped coming over when I was 3, right after Mom and Dad split up. Mom said you and Dad had a huge fight over something." The judge intervened. "Mr. Michael, you need to explain this situation immediately." Michael took a deep breath, his arrogance gone. "Your Honor, I request a 15-minute recess." "Denied. You will explain now." Jennifer stood up, staring at Michael. "You were our friend. He was my son's godfather. How can you take his side after everything he's done? Jennifer, you don't understand." "What don't I understand? That you chose money over friendship? That you'd rather defend a man who abandoned his own child?" Ethan tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mom, there's something else." Everyone turned to the boy. He looked even smaller in that huge room, but there was a determination in his eyes that didn't match his age. "I'm not just here for child support, or to complain that my dad doesn't visit me." "Then why are you here, Ethan?" the judge asked gently. The boy took a deep breath. "I'm sick." The silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer turned pale. "What? Ethan, what are you talking about?" Ethan pulled more papers from his backpack. They were medical reports. "I have a blood disorder. The doctor said it's rare. I didn't tell Mom because she already has too much to worry about." Jennifer staggered. The judge immediately called for water. Michael was frozen. David stood up from his chair, but didn't know what to do. "How long have you known, son?" Jennifer managed to ask, her voice breaking. 3 months. My gym teacher noticed I was always tired and had bruises that wouldn't go away. The principal took me to the health clinic. I asked her not to tell you." "Oh my God, Ethan, why didn't you tell me?" "Because you already worked 2 shifts to pay the bills. You worry enough. I thought, if my dad knew." David finally stepped forward. "Ethan, son." "The doctor said I'll need a transplant, and that it'd be better from a family member. That's why I wanted to talk to you, Dad, not for me. If I die, Mom will be all alone." Jennifer collapsed, hugging her son. "You won't die. Don't say that." Michael was shattered. All his arrogance, all his professionalism had crumbled. He looked at the brave boy he once called his godson, and something broke inside him. "Ethan," he said hoarsely, You really remember me?" I do, Godfather. You gave me a teddy bear when I turned 3. I still have it. It's a little old, but I take good care of it. Michael covered his face with his hands. David now stood beside Ethan, unsure if he could or should touch him. "Why didn't you come to me?" David asked. "Why didn't you tell me you were sick?" Ethan looked at his father with those big, sad eyes. "I tried, Dad, all those letters. At first they were just to say I missed you. Then when I got sick, I tried to tell you, but you never answered. I thought you didn't care." "What letters? I never got any letters." Jennifer composed herself enough to speak. "I mailed them. To your office and your home," Ethan insisted. David turned to Michael. "Did you intercept the letters?" Michael shook his head. "No, I swear I didn't. I didn't even know about them." The judge banged his gavel to restore order. "Gentlemen, let's remain calm. Ethan, do you have these medical reports?" The boy handed the papers to the judge, who examined them carefully. "These are recent, and they do indicate a serious condition. Mrs. Wilson, you truly didn't know?" "No, Your Honor. My son kept this from me." She hugged Ethan tighter. "Why, sweetheart? Why? You already suffer so much, Mom. Work so hard. I saw you counting change the other day to buy milk. I didn't want to add to your worries. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now, continuing." Michael stood abruptly. "Your Honor, I request to withdraw from this case. There's a clear conflict of interest." "Hold on." David grabbed the lawyer's arm. "You owe me an explanation. You were my son's godfather and never told me. You agreed to represent me against them. You don't understand, David." "What don't I understand?" "Then explain." Michael looked at Jennifer, then at Ethan, and finally at David. "We fought, remember, 7 years ago, because of the divorce. We fought because you took Jennifer's side. I took the side of a marriage. You were happy. You had a beautiful son, and you threw it all away because of that. It wasn't your business." "Yes, it was. I was Ethan's godfather. I was friends with both of you. And you destroyed everything." Jennifer stepped in. "Enough. This isn't about the two of you and your old fights. It's about my son who's sick." Ethan tugged at Michael's shirt. "Godfather." Michael looked down at that little face he could now recognize. The same big eyes, the same small nose, only now thinner, paler. "Don't call me that, Ethan. I don't deserve it. You're still my godfather. Mum said a godfather is for life." Michael couldn't hold back his tears. He, the most feared lawyer in the city, was crying in the middle of a courtroom. "Your Honor," he said, trying to compose himself, "I confirm there's a conflict of interest. I am Ethan's godfather. I was close to the family. I distanced myself after the divorce for personal reasons. I shouldn't have taken this case." The judge nodded. "You're dismissed, Mr. Thompson, and you may later face ethical questions before the State Bar Association." "I accept the consequences, Your Honor." David was stunned. "Ethan, son, let me see these test results." He took the papers with trembling hands. As he read, his face grew paler and paler. "Leukemia. My God, Jennifer, why didn't you call me?" "I just found out too, David. Our son hid this from me. But there's treatment, right? It can be cured." Ethan answered with the maturity of someone who'd spent 3 months researching his own illness. "There's treatment, Dad, but it's expensive, and I'll need a bone marrow transplant. The doctor said it'd be better if it came from a close relative." David knelt in front of his son. "I'll get tested. Today. Right now, if needed." "You'd do that?" "Ethan, you're my son. Of course I would. I know I've been a terrible father. I know I abandoned you. But I love you, son. I always have." "Then why didn't you ever answer my letters? Why didn't you ever visit?" David lowered his head. "Because I'm a coward. Because I was ashamed. Because every time I saw you, I remembered what I threw away. The family I destroyed." Jennifer sniffled. "That's no excuse, David." "I know. There's no excuse. But I'll make it right. I'll get tested for compatibility. I'll pay for the best treatment. I don't just want your money, Dad. Ethan interrupted. "I want you." Those simple words completely shattered David's defenses. He hugged his son for the first time in years, crying, "Forgive me, son. Forgive me." Ethan hugged him back. "I forgive you, Dad." Michael, who had remained standing, frozen, suddenly spoke. "I want to get tested too." Everyone turned to him. "As godfather? I mean, we're not blood relatives, but sometimes it works. I want to try." "Michael," Jennifer began. "Please, Jennifer. I failed you. I chose pride over friendship. I let a stupid fight keep me from my godson. Let me try to help now." The judge, who had watched everything in silence, cleared his throat. "Well, I believe the matter of child support and custody can now be resolved amicably." David stood up, still holding Ethan's hand. "Yes, Your Honor. I'll cover all my son's medical expenses, and I want joint custody if Jennifer agrees. I want to be part of his life." Jennifer nodded, wiping away her tears. "If you follow through this time, David, Ethan needs stability, especially now." "I will follow through, I swear." The judge smiled slightly. "Well, then I suggest we formalize an agreement. And Ethan?" "Yes, Your Honor?" "You're a very brave boy, but next time don't hide important things from your mom, okay?" "Okay, sir." After the legal proceedings, the group left the courtroom. Ethan walked between his father and mother, holding both their hands. Michael followed close behind, carrying his godson's backpack. In the hallway, Jennifer stopped. "Ethan, why didn't you tell me about being sick?" The boy looked at the ground. "I saw you crying the other day, Mom. When the electric bill came, you were trying to figure out how to pay for everything. I didn't want to make things worse." "Oh, my love." Jennifer knelt and hugged her son. "Nothing is more important than you. Nothing." David crouched down too. "Ethan, I'll schedule the tests for tomorrow. We'll find out if I'm a match. And if I'm not, we'll figure something else out. You're going to be okay. You promise?" "I promise. And this time, I'll keep my word." Michael stepped closer. "Ethan, do you still have that bear I gave you?" "Yeah, I do, Uncle. He's a little old, but he's still in one piece." "That's good. Listen, I'd like to be part of your life again, if your mom allows it. If you want it." Ethan looked at Jennifer, who nodded. "Uncle Michael was always important to us, sweetheart, before everything happened." "Okay, then. Can you be my real godfather again?" Michael smiled, emotional. "It'd be an honor, champ." As they walked toward the parking lot, Ethan suddenly stopped. "Dad, there's something I don't understand." "What is it, son?" "If you never got my letters, where did they go?" David exchanged a glance with Jennifer. "That's a good question, Jennifer. Are you sure you sent them to the right addresses?" "Absolutely, both to your home and your office," Michael interjected. "David, who handles your mail at the office?" "My secretary." David paused, realization dawning on his face. "Amanda, the same secretary who—" "Who's your girlfriend now?" Jennifer finished dryly. Ethan looked between them. "Dad's girlfriend took my letters." David grabbed his phone. "We're going to find out right now." He dialed a number and put it on speaker. "Amanda, it's David. I need to ask you something. Have you been intercepting letters addressed to me?" A woman's voice answered. "David, what kind of question is that? Intercepting how?" "Letters from my son, Amanda, yes or no?" There was silence on the other end. "Amanda, I thought it was better for you not to stress over it. You always got in a bad mood when your ex-wife called." "You hid letters from my son?" "David, I did it for your own good. You always said you wanted to forget the past, move forward. My 10-year-old son wrote to me for 3 years, and you hid the letters." I didn't know they were that important." David hung up, furious. "I can't believe this. 3 years of letters." Jennifer shook her head. "I always knew she was no good." "Jennifer, please." "No, David, I won't speak ill of her in front of Ethan. But you made a terrible choice." Ethan tugged at his father's sleeve. "Dad, don't be sad. What matters is that you know now." "How can you be so understanding, son? I abandoned you. I let someone take your letters. I was a horrible father. But you're here now, and you're going to get tested to help me. That's what matters. Michael placed a hand on David's shoulder. The boy's right. What's done is done. Now we look ahead. You too, Michael, after how I treated you. We were both fools. We let pride get in the way of friendship. But Ethan gave us a second chance. Jennifer checked her watch. Guys, I need to take Ethan for his medication. The doctor said we can't be late. Which hospital are you using? Asked David. The city hospital. It's what the public school insurance covers. No. Starting today, we're going to Mercy Medical Center. I'll call Dr. Collins. He's the best pediatric hematologist in the country. David, that must cost a fortune. Jennifer, he's our son. He's priceless. Ethan smiled for the first time since they'd entered the family court. So you're going to be friends again? All of you? The three adults exchanged glances. There was so much hurt, so much history, so much water under the bridge. But there was also a sick child who needed them united. We'll try, son, said Jennifer. For your sake, we'll try. In the car on the way to the hospital, Ethan took his mother's hand. Mum, I'm sorry for hiding my illness. I've already forgiven you, sweetheart, but promise you'll never hide anything from me again. I promise, Mom? Yes? Do you think Dad will keep his promises this time? Jennifer glanced in the rearview mirror. David was right behind them in his car, with Michael in the passenger seat. The two seemed to be having a serious conversation. I think so, son. I think he finally understands what he lost. And Godfather Michael? Michael. He's always been a good man. He just lost his way for a while, but it seems he's found his path again. Ethan smiled and rested his head on his mother's shoulder. That's good, because I'll need everyone together. At the hospital, while waiting for the doctor, Ethan pulled his worn notebook from his backpack. Dad, want to see? David took the notebook carefully, as if it were a treasure. Page after page of broken promises, written in a child's careful handwriting. My God, Ethan, you wrote everything down. Yeah, but now I can start a new notebook, right? With promises kept. Michael, who had been watching from a distance, approached. Can I make the first entry? Ethan handed him the notebook. Michael wrote, Today, Godfather Michael promised to always be there. Promise kept. He's here. The doctor arrived and examined Ethan, reviewing previous tests. Well, the good news is we caught it relatively early. The bad news is we need to start treatment immediately. Doctor, about the bone marrow transplant, David began. Yes, it would be ideal to test family members for compatibility. You're the father? I am, and I want to be tested today. Great. The mother too? Of course, said Jennifer. And I'm a family friend. I'd also like to be tested, said Michael. The doctor nodded. The more candidates, the better. I'll have the nurse prepare everything. While they waited, Ethan asked, Doctor, if no one is compatible, what happens? We search the marrow bank. But let's not think about that now, okay? Let's hope someone in the family is a match. During the compatibility tests, Ethan stayed in the waiting room with his mother. Michael and David went to get tested together. It's strange being here with you after all this time, said David as the nurse drew his blood. 7 years, replied Michael. 7 years wasted because of pride. I'm sorry, Michael, for the fight, for everything. Me too, I should have respected your choices even if I disagreed with them. And you were right. I threw away my family for a fling. Look where it got me. But there's still time to fix things. Ethan forgave you. That's what matters. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. After the tests, they returned to the room where Ethan was. The boy had fallen asleep in his mother's arms, exhausted by the day's emotions. He's strong, whispered Jennifer. Stronger than me. Takes after his mother, David said softly. Jennifer shook her head. No. I fell apart when you left. I cried for months. It was Ethan who gave me the strength to keep going. Jennifer, No, David, I don't want to hear apologies now. What matters is Ethan. Only him. Michael sat across from her. Jennifer, you did an incredible job raising him, all by yourself. I didn't have a choice. We always have choices. You chose to be strong for him. You chose to work double shifts. You chose not to speak badly about his father, even when you had every reason to. Jennifer wiped away a tear. He asked about both of you, you know, especially at first, why his godfather didn't come around anymore, why his dad never called. What was I supposed to say? What did you tell him? David asked. That you were busy, that adults sometimes lose their way, but that love doesn't just disappear, even after everything. Ethan needed to believe he was loved, that it wasn't his fault. So yes, even after everything. The doctor returned a few hours later. The preliminary results will be ready in 48 hours. The full test takes longer, but we'll have an initial idea. And the treatment? Jennifer asked. We start tomorrow. Ethan will be admitted for a few days for the first sessions. It's an aggressive protocol, but necessary. Ethan woke up hearing the conversation. I have to stay in the hospital. Yes, champ, but we'll be here with you, David said. All of you? All of us, Michael confirmed. That night, Jennifer packed a small bag for Ethan. David had insisted on paying for a private room, the best in the hospital. Mom, can I bring Bear? Ethan asked, holding up the worn-out stuffed animal Michael had given him years ago. Of course, sweetheart. And my new notebook. I want to keep track of promises kept. That too. The next day, Ethan was admitted. The room looked more like a hotel than a hospital, but it was still scary for a child. Hey, champ, Michael said, walking in with a bag. Brought you some things. He pulled out books, games, a new tablet. Godfather, you didn't have to. Yes, I did. I've got 7 years' worth of missed gifts to make up for. David arrived soon after, also carrying bags. Brought your favorite games. Oh, and I found out from your mum that you like dinosaurs. He held up an enormous stuffed dinosaur. Dad, I'm 10 now. You're never too old for dinosaurs. Jennifer smiled, watching the two men trying to make up for lost time. Ethan seemed happy despite the circumstances. The first chemotherapy session was tough. Ethan felt nauseous and weak, but he didn't complain. Jennifer held his hand on one side, David on the other. You're being so brave, the nurse said. I have to get better. Mom needs me. And so does your dad, David added. I need you too, son. On the second day, Michael brought a surprise visitor. Ethan, remember old Jim from the park? An elderly man walked into the room. Hey, little man, heard you weren't feeling well. Ethan gave a weak smile. Old Jim, you're the one who taught me to fly kites. That's me. Brought a new kite for when you get out of here. But I don't even know if I'll be able to. You will. You're as strong as your mom. Jennifer was moved. Old Jim, are you still working at the park? Retired last year. But Michael called, told me about the little guy, had to come see my champ. During the visit, Ethan seemed livelier. Old Jim told stories about the park, all the kites they'd flown together when Ethan was younger. Do you still have that special kite, the one that shimmered in the sun? Ethan asked. Kept it at home, waiting for you to get better so we can fly it again. After old Jim left, Ethan turned to Michael. How did you know about him? I remember you two at the park. I was always around, even after I stepped back, watching from a distance. Why didn't you come talk to us? Pride, Ethan, stupid pride. Thought you were better off without me. We're never better off without the people we love, Godfather. On the third day, the preliminary test results came in. The doctor entered the room with a neutral expression. Well, I have the initial compatibility test results. Everyone held their breath. Mrs. Jennifer, unfortunately, you're not a match. It's common between mother and child, don't worry. Jennifer lowered her head, disappointed. Mr. David. David squeezed Ethan's hand. You have a partial match. The transplant is possible, but it's not ideal. We'll keep searching the bone marrow registry. And me? Asked Michael. The doctor checked the papers. Mr. Michael, this is unusual. You have a very high compatibility with Ethan, almost as if you were related. Everyone fell silent. But I'm just his godfather. Sometimes it happens. It's rare, but it does. You'd be an excellent donor. Ethan looked at Michael with shining eyes. See, godfather? We've always had a special connection. Michael couldn't speak, too overwhelmed. David surprisingly showed no jealousy. Michael, would you save my son? Our son, David. He's always been our son, all of ours. In the following days, as Ethan continued his initial treatment, the three adults settled into a routine. Jennifer took the mornings, David the afternoons, and Michael the nights. But often they were all together. It's strange, Jennifer said one day, as the three had coffee in the hospital cafeteria. After everything, we're here together again. Ethan did what years of therapy couldn't, Michael joked. He's always been special, David agreed. Even as a baby, remember how he used to laugh? I remember, Michael said. The sweetest laugh in the world. They spent hours reminiscing about Ethan's early years before everything fell apart. It was painful but also healing. I miss those days, David admitted. We all do, Jennifer said, but we can't change the past. We can build a different future, Michael suggested. For Ethan, Jennifer agreed. For Ethan, the two men repeated. A week later, Ethan was responding well to the initial treatment. The transplant was scheduled for the next month, giving his body time to grow stronger. Godfather, will it hurt? Ethan asked when he heard the date. A little, but it's worth it. You'll get better. And will you be okay? I'll be just fine. And you know what? We'll have an even more special connection. Part of me will always be with you. Like blood brothers? Exactly. David, who was listening, stepped closer. Ethan, I want you to know that even though Michael is the donor, I'm still your father, and I'll always be here. I know, Dad. Now I have both of you. And Mom, I'm the luckiest boy in the world. Jennifer walked in with a surprise. Ethan, you have visitors. His whole class came in, led by their teacher. Each child carried a drawing or card. We made a mural for you, said Tyler, Ethan's best friend. They unrolled a large sheet of paper covered in messages of support, colorful drawings, and class photos. And there's more, the teacher announced. The whole school got involved. We organized a blood and platelet drive for the hospital. Ethan was moved. You did this for me? Of course, you're our friend, the children chorused. The visit was short but left Ethan beaming. After they left, he wrote in his new notebook, My friends came to see me. Promise kept. True friendship. In the weeks that followed, the hospital routine became familiar. Ethan had good days and bad days. On the bad days, when the nausea was too strong or he felt too weak, he'd squeeze his old teddy bear and close his eyes. What do you think about when you do that? Jennifer asked one day. I think about the park, about flying kites. While you're all together and happy, let's do this again, all of us at the park. Promise? I promise. Ethan grabbed the notebook and wrote it down. One day, Amanda showed up at the hospital. David had broken up with her after finding out about the letters, but she insisted on talking to Ethan. Jennifer was about to stop her, but Ethan said, Let her in, Mom. Amanda walked in awkwardly, carrying a bag. Hi, Ethan. I came to apologize. Why did you hide my letters? Amanda lowered her head. Because I was selfish. I thought if your dad didn't have contact with you, he'd be mine alone. It was wrong. So wrong. Do you have kids? No. If you did, you'd understand. A child needs their father. You're right, I brought your letters, all of them. I kept them instead of throwing them away. I don't know why. She handed the bag to David. They were all there. 3 years' worth of letters, some with drawings, others with photos. David started reading one, tears streaming down. Dear Dad, today I learned to tie my shoes by myself. I wanted to show you. Love, Ethan. Dad, Mom's sad. I think it's because money's tight. If you could help, don't tell her I wrote this. Dad, today marks 2 years since you last came. I still love you. Ethan. David couldn't go on. He clutched the letters to his chest. Forgive me, son. Forgive me. I already have, Dad, but don't disappear again, okay? Never again, I swear. Amanda slipped out quietly. Surprisingly, Jennifer followed her. Amanda. Jennifer, I know you hate me. I don't hate you. I pity you. You missed the chance to know an amazing kid, and you lost David too, because he'll never forgive what you did. I know. But thank you for keeping the letters. It means somewhere in your heart, you knew you were wrong. Amanda nodded and left, crying. The day of the transplant arrived. Michael was admitted to the same floor as Ethan to make the procedure easier. Godfather, are you scared? Ethan asked when he visited before the surgery. A little. And you? Me too, but it'll be okay. How are you so sure? Because now I have all of you. I didn't before, now I do. Michael hugged his godson. I love you, champ, always have, even from afar. I love you too, Godfather. The procedure went well. Michael recovered quickly, and the marrow was transplanted to Ethan. Now it was a waiting game to see if his body would accept it. The first few days were tense. Ethan had a fever, felt weak, but the doctors said it was normal. Jennifer never left his side. David and Michael took turns. You two should go rest, Jennifer said on the third day. We're not leaving, David replied firmly. Don't even think about it, Michael agreed, still pale from the donation. On the fifth day, Ethan woke up fever-free. On the seventh, he could eat. On the 10th, tests showed the marrow was being accepted. It's an excellent sign, the doctor said. It's still early, but I'm optimistic. Ethan smiled weakly. I knew it would work. Godfather and I always had a special bond. In the following weeks, Ethan gradually improved. Color returned to his face, his appetite came back, and he started having energy to play. A month after the transplant, Ethan was discharged, partially. He'd still need checkups, but he could go home. Home, he sighed. I can't wait. How about we stop by the park first? David suggested. Can I, Mom? Jennifer looked at the doctor, who nodded. Fresh air will do him good, but no physical exertion yet. At the park, old Jim was waiting with the special kite. I knew you'd come back, champ. Ethan couldn't run yet, so David ran for him, flying the kite while Ethan held the string, sitting on a bench between Jennifer and Michael. Look, Mom, it's flying high. It sure is, sweetheart. Just like you, Michael said. You flew high, faced the storm, and survived. It's because you were my wind, Ethan replied. Without wind, a kite doesn't fly. At that moment, with the kite shining in the blue sky and the four of them together in the park, it seemed they had finally found peace. The wounds of the past still existed, but they were healing. 6 months later, Ethan was in complete remission. The illness had been defeated, at least for now. He went back to school, back to playing, back to being a child. The family dynamic had completely changed. David Miller faithfully upheld the shared custody, present for every important moment. Michael Thompson became the dedicated godfather again, and Sunday dinners at Jennifer Wilson's house became a tradition. It's funny, Jennifer said one day as they prepared dinner together. Our son had to almost die for us to learn how to live. He saved us, Michael agreed. He saved all of us. That boy really is special, David added. From the backyard, they heard Ethan's laughter as he played with his friends. The most beautiful sound in the world. A year after the transplant, they threw a party to celebrate. Ethan had fully recovered. His hair had grown back, and he was even taller. During the party, Ethan asked for everyone's attention. I want to make a toast. Everyone raised their glasses. A toast to my family. It's a little messy, a little different, but it's mine. Mom, Dad, Godfather, thank you for not giving up on me, and thank you for not giving up on each other. We're the ones who should thank you, son, David said, emotional. For teaching us what really matters, Michael added. Love, family, forgiveness, Jennifer finished. And promises kept, Ethan shouted, holding up his notebook now filled with positive notes. They toasted, laughing and crying at the same time. Later, when the party ended and Ethan went to sleep, the three adults stayed on the porch. You know, Michael said, I always thought I'd lost my family when we fought, but now I see that family isn't something you lose. Sometimes you drift apart, but the love is still there, waiting. Waiting for a brave kid to show us the way, David agreed. Our little hero, Jennifer smiled. From his room, they heard Ethan call, Mom, Dad, Godfather, come here. They rushed in, worried. What is it, son? Ethan was in bed, smiling. Nothing. I just wanted to make sure you were all still here. We always will be, they promised together. Okay then, good night, love you. We love you too, they replied in unison. They closed the door softly. In the hallway, they looked at each other and smiled. Life had taken many turns, caused a lot of pain, but in the end, love won, as it always does when given a chance. 3 years later, Ethan, now 13, won a school essay contest. The theme was, My Story of Overcoming. In the auditorium, he read to an emotional audience. When I was 10, I found out I was sick, but I also discovered something more important, that a family's love can heal more than any medicine. My dad learned how to be a father. My godfather learned that family is more than blood, though now we literally share the same blood. My mom, who was always strong, learned she didn't have to be strong alone. And me? I learned that sometimes you have to almost lose everything to appreciate what you truly have. In the audience, Jennifer, David, and Michael wiped away quiet tears. Today, 3 years later, my family isn't perfect. My parents didn't get back together, but they learned to be friends. My godfather isn't just a godfather anymore. He's a part of me, literally. My mom is still my hero, but now she has help carrying the world on her shoulders. Ethan paused, looking at the three of them. If I could go back in time, would I change anything? I'd take away the illness, of course. But if that meant not having my family as united as we are today, maybe it was worth it. Because I learned that family isn't about perfection. It's about being present. It's about keeping promises. It's about unconditional love. And that we have in abundance. The auditorium erupted in applause. Ethan stepped off the stage and ran to embrace his family. You did beautifully, son, said Jennifer. So proud of you, champ, added David. Our little writer, Michael smiled. Not so little anymore, Ethan corrected, but always yours. And there, hugging in the middle of the auditorium, they proved that the strongest families aren't always the traditional ones. They're the ones forged in the fire of adversity, bound by love and solidified by forgiveness. Ethan had achieved the impossible, turning abandonment into presence, hurt into love, sickness into healing, not just for the body, but for all their souls. The end of the story. And what about you, dear listener? What did you think of Ethan's journey? Have you experienced something similar? Share with us in the comments and don't forget to leave your like and subscribe.